Hi, I'm Carl Azus. We've got an international and interplanetary show for you today. 10 minutes of commercial-free current events starts now. First up, to Asia. China is hosting the APEC summit, APEC for Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation. It works to improve the economies and trade between its 21 member countries. President Obama is scheduled to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping today. These two men are the leaders of the world's two largest economies. But at any international meeting between world leaders, other subjects are bound to come up. Iran, Syria, Ukraine. Three topics that the U.S. and Russia have been at odds over were discussed when President Obama crossed paths with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Relations between the U.S. and Russia aren't the only thing on these leaders' minds.
With China staging a dazzling summit to showcase its economic might, President Obama is eager to prove for a lame duck in Washington all is not foul on the world stage.
There should be no doubt that the United States of America remains entirely committed when it comes to Asia.
The president is walking a diplomatic tightrope, both competing for business in Asia and pressuring China over its human rights record in places like Hong Kong.
We believe in freedom of speech. We believe in freedom of association. We believe in openness in government.
But Mr. Obama started this three-nation journey with a new foreign policy notch on his belt, the release of American prisoners from North Korea, a top-secret operation he insisted was no diplomatic mission. Administration officials said it was the North Koreans who controlled the timing.
We had an indication that there was the possibility of the release of these two hostages, or prisoners, and we pursued it.
Flexing his own muscle in Asia, Russian President Vladimir Putin is cutting deals with China to bolster his economy after sanctions stemming from the crisis in Ukraine. But Putin was little more than a distraction for Mr. Obama, who is lining up more support for the battle against ISIS after he doubled the number of U.S. troops on the ground in Iraq.
We are recognizing the need for us to ramp up Iraqi capabilities.
The key question for the president on this trip is whether his standing on the world stage is diminished by his shrinking status back in Washington. As one Chinese newspaper said, the lame duck president will be further crippled by the midterms. A political defeat the president now concedes is on him.
There are lots of questions surrounding a recent airstrike in Iraq. It happened over the weekend, targeting the ISIS terrorist group. Reports from Iraq's government suggest the leader of ISIS, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, might have been hit. So is he injured? Who launched the airstrike? Where in Iraq did it happen? Told you there were a lot of questions. Experts say that even if al-Baghdadi is injured or killed, ISIS is too well organized to fold up without him. It has a cabinet of advisors. It has a religious council that ensures ISIS is sticking to its interpretation of Islamic law. Analysts say there's probably a clear line of succession for ISIS leadership, so the U.S.-led fight against it will likely continue. 8 of 9 Ebola patients who've been treated in the U.S. have survived the dangerous virus. That includes Dr. Craig Spencer. Officials say he's cured of the disease less than a month after he was diagnosed with it. Dr. Spencer had contracted Ebola while treating victims in Guinea, but he didn't show symptoms until after he'd gotten back home to New York. At this time, there are no other people in the U.S. with the hemorrhagic fever. That's not the case in Africa. In this year's outbreak, more than 13,000 Ebola cases have been reported. Half of those who've gotten it in Africa have died.
In a region desperate for good news, some progress in the fight against the Ebola epidemic. At treatment centres in Liberia, there are more empty beds and fewer burials, a sign that the number of cases is down. The surprising slowdown was confirmed by the World Health Organization. Health officials say they're cautiously optimistic, but warn against declaring a premature victory.
Things are slowing down. But are we there yet? No. Do we need to do more? Yes.
Even more treatment centres are being built as international aid continues to arrive in the region.
We just entered the high-risk area of the Monrovia Medical Unit.
This one-of-a-kind treatment centre, built by US troops, is set to open. US health workers have been training extensively at the 25-bed facility to treat medical workers infected with the virus. A different scene in neighbouring Sierra Leone, where the number of Ebola cases continues to climb. Treatment centres in Freetown are still crowded with the sick. And outside the capital, aid workers are busy delivering food to rural villages that remain under quarantine. And in Ghana, West African leaders were screened with a laser thermometer for signs of the virus as they gathered to talk about how to fight the epidemic. They say despite some short-term gains, economies in the hardest hit nations are still suffering and much more international help is needed.
We're dedicating the first part of today's roll call to the homeschoolers out there. We know a lot of you in the U.S. and abroad are watching this with the parent who teaches you, so thank you for making us part of your day. Next, we're visiting the capital of Colorado. It's good to see the White Tigers watching in Denver at Joan Farley Academy at Lowry. And on the big island of Hawaii, the Hilo High School Vikings are online. Hello to everyone at Hilo. At 48 miles long and 37 miles wide, Rhode Island is the smallest U.S. state, but it has the biggest name. But Carl, you might say, Rhode Island has 11 letters in it. North and South Carolina each have 13. We'll check it. Rhode Island's official name is State of Rhode Island and Providence Plantation. That's huge, and that's random. It's called the Rosetta mission. For the first time ever, scientists are attempting to land a man-made spacecraft on a comet. You're looking at an animation of our solar system. The comet we're talking about has the purple orbit on your screen. It's named Comet 67P. Rosetta is the spacecraft that's been traveling to it. It has the red orbit. It's a $1.7 billion project by the European Space Agency. It's taken 10 years for Rosetta to meet up with Comet 67P. Now it's on the brink of releasing its small lander, about the size of a washing machine, onto the comet's surface. Scientists are hoping it'll gather all kinds of information: the density and heat on Comet 67P, the chemicals that might be there. They want to know what comets are made of and how they react when they get close to the sun. But landing this, really hard to do. Researchers say it has to land at the right time, in the right direction, with the right velocity. If it doesn't, the mission could come to a crashing halt. If the lander hits a boulder or a crevice, it could tip over. It'll take half an hour for the lander's signal even to reach Earth, letting them know if this worked. As one European Space Agency scientist put it, everything is new. Finally today, jetpacks, the kind that let you soar above the earth, are hugely impractical. They can cost $200,000, but the water kind, which attach to a jet ski, are closer to $9,000, plus the jet ski. But they're making it easier for average folks to jet. Not as much fun in cold water unless your jet suit's a wetsuit. But if jets suit you and the wet suits you and your curiosity's wet by wet jets, what are you waiting for? Get up, suit up, pack up, and jet up wherever a jetpack backpack packs jets, Jack. What? CNN Student News Jets back tomorrow.